National Training and Development Curriculum for Foster and Adoptive Parents.
Children spend a good portion of their day at school. Not only is school a place for educational growth, it also plays a critical role in a child's social development. But for children who have experienced trauma, grief, and loss, school can be a very stressful environment. In the following segments, you'll hear from clinicians and experts in the fields of trauma-informed education. You'll also meet teachers and parents who share how they work together to support the education of children who have experienced trauma, grief, and loss. For children who are adopted or in foster care, school can be an especially difficult environment.
A list of challenges appears and includes academic, behavioral, and social-emotional. Heather Forbes, author, speaker, therapist, development trauma specialist, the Beyond Consequences Institute.
There's a lot of challenges our children will have at school from an academic standpoint, social standpoint, even physiological standpoint.
Youth in care can struggle academically for a variety of reasons.
Kathleen McNaught, Director, Education Programs, American Bar Association, Center on Children and the Law.
One very significant piece is the need for children in care to have educational stability, meaning while in care, that all efforts need to be made to maintain a stable education and a stable educational placement as much as possible.
Many of our children have been moved around to different schools. There's gaps in their academics, and so they're going to be far behind.
Identifying gaps in education and focusing on specific skills can help.
Talitha Wary, adoptive and foster parent.
Exana really struggled with math. She really missed the basics, a lot of the basics. So I've done a math tutoring program with her that I take her to.
In addition to gaps in education, children may need assistance learning how to stay focused and organized so that they can succeed in the classroom.
Educators will see that, unfortunately, from a behavioral standpoint, and then we have children then that are basically in trouble, and so they're struggling academically.
Additional support and routines for homework can be critical, but parents must be flexible and change their expectations around academics to fit with the child's current capacity.
So when I was helping Exana with her homework assignment and it became apparent that she was having a meltdown through it, I thought it was very important that I show my support to her, that I could help her through this and communicate with the teacher.
Talitha and children sit together at the dining room table.
Let's get online today and look at that online math class that you're working on. So the most important thing with that was that her well-being was taken care of first. The grade didn't matter at that moment.
Well, I do have a science project coming up soon,
Okay.
so I'm kind of excited for that.
Children who have a history of trauma may exhibit behavioral issues in the classroom.
Steve Granner, Project Director, the Neurosequential Model in Education.
So what we're better understanding in schools is how to prepare kids for learning. And part of that is understanding, recognizing, and being therapeutic as we deal with their adversities that they bring with them to school.
Classrooms have a lot of stimulation as far as the lights, the sounds, the interactions of children, the noises. If you have any type of trauma in your history, it is very highly likely that you will probably have some issues with your sensory system, meaning that you have a hard time processing lots of noises, and that anything coming into the body, whether it's sound or touch or smell or all the different senses, your body is going to overreact.
It's important for both teachers and parents to look past the behaviors and to identify the reasons behind the behaviors.
Go in there with a sense of curiosity that says, what's really driving this behavior? What is the overwhelm? What is the fear? What is the stress? And how then do we help to alleviate those root causes in order to be able to alleviate the behaviors?
Kids' behavior is their language. And when that language is spoken in a way that affects us negatively at school, we want to do what we can to regulate it rather than to punish those children.
If I said, I want you to go to this room every day for 8 hours, and in that room you're going to feel stupid, go on. Are you going to want to go? No, you're going to find a way out of it. I mean, it's literally that simple. And so again, this is working with educators and helping them to understand our children need to feel like they belong.
Trauma also affects social-emotional development, which can make it difficult for children to connect with their peers.
Jim Liss, high school teacher, adoptive parent.
It affects a child's focus. It affects their motivation for being in the classroom. It affects their ability to develop relationships with classmates, develop relationships with the teacher.
A lot of our children have not had really good parental support and good experiences to be able to know how to engage at a social level. When they walk into those classrooms, they don't have that foundation. And so a lot of our children really are quite inept at knowing how to interact.
Talitha opens the front door for a friend.
Exana, Gabby's here.
Jennifer Bishop, adoptive parent.
She's in 7th grade and she's been invited to one birthday party in all of those years. So socially, she's just not hanging out with other girls or other kids.
Finding opportunities for youth to socialize with their peers in a controlled setting can help them build these skills.
For the social setting, we just try to keep her with kids, do extracurricular activities. She did running for a while. This year we were going to try basketball.
Change can be emotionally difficult for any child, but children who have experienced trauma, grief, or loss may need extra support during transitions. With a new school year and an all-new high school approaching, Talitha started preparing Exana for this change months in advance.
With this being a new school year, I've already done the walkthrough at the school with her. I actually did that months ago, and she's still nervous about starting school the first day.
Talitha is driving the car with her daughter.
So when we go to meet the teacher, just let's walk the classrooms, walk the route, and then so that you're comfortable with that. When we do meet the teacher, we'll do a walkthrough, so she's comfortable.
Partnering with school administrators, teachers, and staff members will help you better support the educational goals of the child in your care.
A list of providing support appears and includes partnering with the school, advocacy, and education laws.
So what I really recommend for parents to do is to be able to go into schools and connect. The most important thing is to build a relationship with the teachers, with the administration, with the front office person.
I've had parents come to me where their kids have allergies, their kids have serious brain conditions that cause seizures, and those parents come and educate me about what's needed for their child. So why not a parent that has a kid that's experienced trauma doing the exact same thing? It just makes sense.
Talitha makes a phone call.
Yeah, hi, this is Mrs. Weary. I'm calling about Exana Weary. I was trying to get an appointment with guidance.
You have to be talking to those teachers, talking to those administrators, explaining the situation.
I wanted to have a steady contact with parents, especially if their child had special needs. So we built a relationship over time.
When the kids start at school, you get a piece of paper to fill out on their strengths and weaknesses. And when I fill those out, I want to make sure that the teachers know that my kids have some needs.
Proactively talking to them about any behaviors that might arise or behavioral management methods you use at home that are effective would be really helpful for a teacher.
Communicating with teachers can also help you avoid misunderstandings. When Jennifer's adopted daughter, Hannah, gives mixed messages about assignments, Jennifer doesn't hesitate to reach out to the teacher.
From now on, if she tells me something, I send it back to them as kind of a question. Hannah's reporting, and this is what she's reporting, and then they can clarify for me, because if I just go with what she's telling me, then that becomes a problem.
We want our children to have the support, but we want to be able to do that in a way that doesn't flag them as the bad kid or the troubled child.
I think just the constant communication is really the biggest thing.
Everyone's on board. Everyone knows what's going on. There's going to be some accountability at school, there's going to be accountability at home. Or there's going to be support at school, and there's going to be support at home. It's a positive environment in both places.
Sometimes a child's academic challenges may require parents to advocate for specific support in the classroom.
Right now, we estimate somewhere between 35 to 50% of students in foster care are receiving special education services or in need of special education services.
So educating yourself is number one. You have to be your child's advocate. You have to get out there and find that information and really figure out which one would work best for your child.
I think it's important not to disclose everything about our children. You know what? No one needs to know our kids' history, but we do need to give some information so that the teachers know that they're dealing with a child that does have some special needs involved.
Really, all we need to know is my child has experienced some serious adversity, and I want you to understand their development is affected by that. But I'm not here to overwhelm you with details.
You can be that advocate for your kid who, in a polite way, is just trying to educate the teacher as well about your student's needs.
Becoming familiar with education laws can help you advocate for formal supports that children may need in the classroom.
It's important to know about the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, as well as Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, which is part of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
The two most common educational supports provided by these acts are Individualized Educational Programs, or IEPs, and 504 plans. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, provides rights and protections to children with disabilities and guarantees access to a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. This may include an IEP. An IEP is a written educational plan that is designed to support a child's special learning abilities. It sets reasonable learning goals for the child and outlines the services and supports that the school will provide so that the child can meet these goals, while at the same time being educated as much as possible with their peers.
IEPs really are the guiding documents to talk about what this student needs in terms of individualized instruction in order to be successful in school.
IEPs can be used to meet gifted or special education needs.
I have to say one of my proudest things as a parent is I got her the IEP in kindergarten. She was struggling from get-go, non-compliant, disruptive, stealing, wouldn't sit in her seat, just you name it, she was doing it. And so I kept asking for an IEP, asking for her to be tested, and they kept telling me no, no, no. So I found the IDEA manual, and I pretty much followed that and put in my actual request.
So if it is a challenge a child's have in reading or in writing or in math, there'll be a particular goal that's measurable with benchmarks in terms of how are we going to define progress in that particular area.
The biggest bonus that she has academically is the extended time, because there's no way she's getting the normal project done within a week or two.
What's really important to remember is that IEP is individually designed instruction. When it's written well, and it can be such a powerful tool to really ensure that the child's can see educational success and progress.
The IEP really provides you with a lot of protections for your student, understanding of her behavior, supports for all her behaviors academically and socially, so you're hitting both marks, but you have to educate yourself.
504 plans are another option for children who need support at school.
Federal Civil Rights Law, Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504. All school systems, institutions, and organizations that receive federal funds from the U.S. Department of Education must provide children with disabilities with accommodations and supports that will help them fully participate in education and all school-related activities.
The qualifying definitions of disability are a little bit broader in 504 than they are in IDEA. So a child might have a disability but doesn't warrant special education services or interventions, but that same disability could warrant them to have a 504 plan.
To qualify for a 504 plan, a student must have a recorded physical or mental disability, or an impairment that substantially impacts or limits one or more major life activities, has a record of such impairment, or is regarded as having a disability or impairment.
There are no goals and benchmarks in the same way that an IEP has, but extended time on tasks or special seating or use of technology, all of that can be written into a 504 plan as well.
The 504 may work for a kid that is having some struggles that may resolve, they may have school history that's actually kind of okay.
Because Hannah's emotional age is younger than her chronological age, Jennifer worked with the school to make accommodations for Hannah so that she was not unsupervised in the locker room.
She developmentally is at the stage where she's more curious, whereas they may be at developmental state of more modesty. And so you kind of balance those together, and let's just let her dress out in the behavioral guides room, because that makes it easier for everybody.
So right now, just Ixana and Zay have a 504. I got auditory processing disorder diagnosed for him because he doesn't hear what you say. I went to school and made sure that those kinds of things were met for him.
Parents who are fostering or adopting may have expectations for a child's academic success, but children who have experienced trauma, grief, and loss may struggle to meet those expectations.
Talitha and son sit at a kitchen table and work on laptops.
You don't have to, don't create a Google account if you haven't, because I think I already have one for you. Okay. But let me just pull up your virtual school math. Do you remember what percent you're at now?
67, I think.
Okay. It'd be nice if we could get you to 75% today.
If you are in a social group with other moms or other dads and they're talking about, well, my child graduated valedictorian, they're off to Harvard, and you're like, I couldn't get my kid to school today. You know, you're gonna feel bad about yourself, but I don't want us to do that anymore because each situation is different. Success is, did I do the very best in every single moment? Did I give as much love and patience and kindness and boundaries that my child needed?
I think you need to look at the school as a resource that is there to help your child.
I don't let my kids slip through the cracks. We're going to partner together and help these kids be successful because they're beautiful and bright kids.
Talitha and children stand in the kitchen. Talitha gives her daughter a hug.
Did you have fun at school today?
Yeah.
This video was funded by the Children's Bureau, Administration on Children, Youth, and Families, Administration for Children and Families, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, under grant number 90C01134. The contents of this video are solely the responsibility of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of the Children's Bureau.